and he is beneath all of this rubble, and he makes this sound. Like Tom Holland, the actor, like makes this
cry.
Yeah, he like makes this sound. He's like calling for help, and he's like, "Hey, somebody come help me!" And you're almost in the back of your head, you're expecting, okay, Tony Stark's gonna fly in, or Iron Man's gonna fly in, save him and stuff. And you almost feel like that's who he's like calling out for. He's like, "Haven't you always been watching me? Like, where are you?" And he realizes for a second, like, shit, no one's coming to help me. And
I don't
then
have my suit anymore.
And he makes this sound though, this sound that there's like this guttural like sort of like scream. Where like there's literally like it took me by surprise. I was like, that's so real and awesome. And then when he starts to like push himself up, and like realize, okay, that's the moment. That's the moment he's becoming the Spider-Man that we know. He's like, I got to do this on my own. I got to do this shit on my own. I got to become the person. I got to become Spider-Man outside the suit, like Tony tells him to do. And our theater that I was in, like, applauded. They went nuts after he, like, got up and, like, held the thing up. It was like, such a cool superhero moment. Like, you know what I mean?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just think, like, my favorite part of the movie was Tom Holland. Like, that guy just oozes fucking charm. He's just charming. Like, but in a nerdy way. Like, I buy him. He's the Peter Parker that we deserve, that we should have had. He's like Tobey Maguire in some ways. He's like a mix of the previous two. I liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, but he was too cool. I liked Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, but maybe he was even too, like, dweeby and kind of awkward. Like, this mixture of Tom Holland, who's got, like, some swagger, like you would in high school if you were a secret superhero, but also still, like, navigating the social waters of high school and stuff. Yeah. And, he's still trying to figure out his own way. It's just, to me, he's, like, the perfect casting choice. And I'm really, 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 really excited. The second one can't come soon enough, or Avengers Infinity War, I guess, can't come soon enough.
I thought my favorite part was Donald Glover. Sorry, that's his name, Donald Glover.
Yeah.
And he gets Spider-Man goes in intimidation mode, and he goes and he's trying to interrogate Donald Glover
with the Batman voice.
The Batman type voice. And Donald Glover's not intimidated. He's like, "You've never done this before, have you? You really need to work on this."
You need to get better.
And then, like, he glued his hand to the back of the trunk, and he's just like, "All right, what do you want? Like, you're not very good at this." He ends up telling him what he wants just because he kind of feels sorry for Spider-Man, who can't intimidate a bad guy. And then he's like, "Well, that'll wear off in 3 hours." And he's like, "No, come on, get me out of this." He's like, no, you're a criminal. You're a criminal. You deserve it. Bye-bye.
It'll wear off in 2 hours. Or what about, like, the scenes in the beginning when he's, like, swinging around the city and he, like, totally misjudges and, like, falls and he pops up and he's like, "I'm okay." And, like, that one scene where he's on top of the roof. That guy's like, "Hey, are you Spider-Man?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Spider-Man." He's like, "Do a backflip." And he's like, "Okay." He, like, does a backflip and the guy's like, "Yeah!" Okay. Yeah. It was just awesome. You brought up Donald Glover, and see, the other thing that I thought they did that was really cool is this, like, subtle world building. So he was Aaron Davis, right? Was his name? I think, let me just double check. Yeah, Aaron Davis, who's the Prowler in the comics. And the Prowler in the comics is the uncle of Miles Morales. And he even says, Donald Glover even says at one point, he's like, "I don't want guns in the city either, like, I have a nephew."
Yeah, our nephew.
He's talking about Miles Morales. Now we know Miles Morales exists in this version of Spider-Man. For those of you guys who don't know who Miles Morales is, he is another version of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Comics. Young, half Hispanic, half black kid from the inner streets who gets bitten by a spider after his uncle steals the spider from Oscorp and he gets bit. He's in the comics right now. He's awesome. He's kind of the future of the Spider-Man franchise, and you can kind of see, like, where maybe they would bring him in. If you look, I
think it was more of just a fun little teaser kind of thing.
I don't think you would hire an actor like Donald Glover, though. Like, I think they're thinking like maybe this movie that comes out in a couple of years is going to have Donald Glover, and whoever we cast as Miles Morales.
I think you hire Donald Glover because I think Donald Glover's a fan of comic books and wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, so I think they have, like, little, I would say, what do you call it, Easter eggs like that.
Yeah.
I just think that is so far down the road, and do you really want to get rid of Tom Holland? I'm also happy they didn't do an origin story, so go fuck themselves. They don't need to do origin stories. So they just kind of just got right into it. But I really like this. The two books, my favorite books are the Sinister Six books, which was Revenge of the Sinister Six and The Secret of the Sinister Six. I don't think they'll go that as far as that route, but I think that is where they will potentially go. I think the Scorpion, they could do the Mysterio as the next villain because he could get, like, maybe some equipment from Loki. because Loki always was
That'd be cool.
able to do like hallucinations and trick you, so he could get equipment that makes him do that. So this is very well made, and they could go that route or they could not go that route. I think the beginning when you kind of saw it pretty much took place right after Civil War. There was no gap. There's no who knows what he did. He's literally right after Civil War. Spider-Man's off and running, and that's what he does.
It's pretty dope. Pretty dope call out to the Iron Spider uniform at the end too, which is pretty awesome.
I don't think we'll actually see him in it though. I think that original suit is really good.
Yeah, we'll see him. The only time we'll definitely see him in it in Infinity War. That'll be it, and then he'll go back to a more practical suit for the next like Spider-Man sequel.
Yeah, I think we'll. It's just. But yeah, I guess those are my complaints personally. I love the movie. I mean, I told Brogan I saw it at the wedding when we were this weekend, and I saw it on Friday, got tickets a day in advance, and I was super pumped. Saw it with my roommate. I was so excited to see it, and I really did enjoy it. I just hated seeing Tony Stark yet again, and then I also just disliked the fact that my childhood hero that I grew up loving and watching was basically being treated like a child. But I get it. I don't think they should have done it differently at all. I think they should have. I don't think there's anything I believe that they should change. I don't understand the Mary Jane / Michelle, because that girl's name was Michelle. I don't understand that really going on. So they call her MJ, but her name was Michelle. So they're like teasing that and like, why do that? Why even bother? Just call her fucking Mary. Like they just want it to be a secret at the end and whatever. And what is Aunt May's reaction now that she knows that he's Spider-Man? What is going to go on there?
What the fuck?
Yeah, the last words were "what the," and then they cut it out. So Mary Jane knowing, I don't know how that's going to impact anything. But she was also pretty funny on when he comes in and checks on their room.
That
and
he's wearing like super
he's wearing boxers, wearing boxers with his best friends, and she's like, "You need anything to eat?" No. Put some clothes on, like just like worried, not concerned, just was like, what the fuck are they up to?
Yeah,
his face when he saw him crawling,
it was awesome.
It was so when Ned saw him, I was like, oh
amazing.
My god, he's just sitting there like holding the Star Wars Death Star Lego set, just oh my god,
you're Spider-Man. So let's talk about a couple things that I was really surprised that we didn't see in the movie. So really no mention of Uncle Ben, not even like a passing reference. I mean, there was like something about like Aunt May's been through a lot, so we don't know how long ago Uncle Ben died or what the story is there.
Do you think they're still following that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think
so iconic. Like he died.
They just skipped the whole origin story in general, which I loved. Thank God.
Yeah,
like we don't need.
No, I agree with that. I just guess what I was expecting is a little bit, just a tiny bit of the backstory of like where they are currently, but not a full dive into like an origin story by any means, but I don't know.
I mean, I don't think they need. I mean, his motivations are, I think, very clear without the fact that he was the reason that Uncle Ben died, which is what it was in the past.
But we don't know that for sure, though.
We don't. That's what I'm saying. His motivations are, I want to do the right thing because I have the ability to do so. That's his motivation. And because he's been giving these powers, and you saw it in Civil War when he went and talked to him in the thing. He's like, what makes you get up in the morning to do this? And he's like, I hate people picking on the little man. I mean, that's what his motivation was. Now, there could have been the whole Uncle Ben thing that happened, and that is part of his motivation. Maybe he's just personalized and did something, or maybe they just ignore it. I don't think we need it. Fuck it. We don't need it. I don't need the great power with great responsibility. If we're not going to talk about Uncle Ben, we don't need that. So we don't need it at all. So
I wish they dove in a little deeper with like Civil War, just a little bit instead of like.
I thought the beginning was so cool what they did with Civil War when they were like his video doc or whatever.
Yeah, no, I thought that was cool. I guess like how they skipped like giant portions, like 8 months, a year, and it's like, damn, man, I wonder what happened in between that point in time of him doing the whole thing with Civil War, and getting the suit and everything like that. I don't know. I just feel like it skipped really, really quickly.
Well, it looked like
got you into the story faster that way.
It looked like just based on like he had like all those unanswered texts to Happy and stuff. He was like, "Hey, when's my next mission? Just calling again." So it looks like it's just been radio silence since Civil War, and they've ignored him. He's just back to
annoying the shit out of Happy.
We saw his daily routine. He gets out of school, webs his backpack to the back of the dumpster. He's lost like 5 of them, according to Aunt Aunt May, and he just goes around, swings around the city, and does his thing. Maybe stops a couple crimes, which I love. Like, that is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's where he's at right now in his career, and it's just it's awesome. Like, that's kind of the comics that I remember from Spider-Man, is like these small scale problems in small scale Brooklyn, and it's not like, you know, world ending matters until later. We'll definitely get there with Tom Holland.
One thing I'm curious about is when Happy talks about Thor's belt is supposed to double the magical power of Thor. And if we saw the Ragnarok movie, now we don't know if it truly happened or if it was like a vision or he has, but his Mjolnir gets destroyed somehow because we saw it in the trailer. But I'm curious if that belt, him talking about Thor's belt, was either just like an Easter egg or if that was some kind of reference to what might happen or might come to be in the Ragnarok movie. So I was just kind of, as soon as he said that, I was just like, I wonder if that's just an Easter egg, because they just wanted to make a funny joke about how you can't pronounce it, or if they actually had something to do with Planet Hulk.
It was also super unclear what the current state of the Avengers is. Now, I know that wasn't the point of the movie, and I'm glad that we didn't like dive into it too much, but to your point, Blev, about like, you know, skipping forward from Civil War, and when they're loading the plane, they're like, here's the prototype shield for Cap, and it's like, well, why is he building a shield? Like, why is he doing that if like he's a war criminal? I know at the end of Civil War, like, doesn't Tony Stark give him like a phone or like a burner to Captain America? He's like, well, if we ever need you, we'll call you still. So you know they're gonna be fine. Like, that's not gonna be a long-term thing or whatever. What are your guys' hopes for the sequel? Wyatt, you kind of alluded to it. Was it a pretty much clear call out, that first end credit scene, that the Sinister Six is starting to form?
I don't think it'll be the next episode. You know what I'm excited about if it is the Sinister Six is I really think that they could do it, and they don't have to do like a whole, because they were eventually going to do that with Andrew Garfield, and they had to have 2 movies and then probably have some introduction with the Rhino and how they're going to do this, and like I was like, dude, just have a band of fucking henchmen and give them all these fucking gadgets. And I think they can do that either in the next movie or very easily do it in the third movie. And it doesn't have to be super epic in the saga. It's just like, hey, that's a standalone movie. He had to deal with these 6 people, and he beat them in the end. But there's some allusions to other things that happen in the other. I mean, I just really, really excited. I would love to see Scorpion, but really that's just another version. It's like a vulture on the ground, right? It's just another mechanical guy. I would really like to see a Mysterio. I think that would be really cool. Somebody that's like, Spider-Man can easily whoop his butt hand-to-hand combat. Yeah. But Mysterio has got the upper hand because he's got all these gadgets and stuff that make you, he could, you know, basically kind of like the Joker, just but with more magical stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they'll do the Hobgoblin because it's too much like the Green Goblin, and they're trying to avoid those heroes. But I'm really, really pumped. I'm happy to see, I would be happy to see Scorpion. But I would also be happy to see Mysterio and a Sinister Six. I'm super pumped where this is going because I've been disappointed since Spider-Man 2. Ever since Spider-Man came out. I liked Andrew Garfield, but honestly didn't care for how the Lizard was portrayed.
They're just super forgettable
Electro
movies.
was a lame, and so was the Green Goblin when they redid him with in Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man 3 was... We don't even mention that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm super pumped to finally see my favorite superhero be a successful movie. I know Spider-Man 1 was a successful movie just because it was the first superhero movie. And back in 2002
is maybe the best sequel outside of Dark Knight.
That was, like, one of the biggest box office hits. And I remember that was, like, the first time I bought tickets months in advance to go see it and had scheduled seats and got there days to, you know, or hours ahead of time. That was such a big movie, and it was the first real superhero movie that started it all, almost.
Yep.
I mean, there was plenty of superhero movies before it, but it was the one that kind of like, look how successful Spider-Man was, and then all this happened. Now we have 22 movies of a DC universe, or MCU universe. It's just awesome.
Yep. Blev, hopes, dreams, Spider-Man 2.
I hope it continues the way it is right now, you know, with the story, and hopefully it dives in deeper to like him coming of age a little bit more, you know, and the experiences. And I hope it doesn't go too far alien or too far weird, you know, and maybe they bring in the Kingpin or something like that. Is that part of the
It's part of the same universe.
They just mentioned that they just don't want to use any heroes that haven't been used before, and since they've used them twice.
Well, he's on Daredevil now, which is the same universe.
He hasn't been in Spider-Man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's been used twice, regardless of whether it was them or somebody else.
Yeah.
I just think he's been used twice. I love the Kingpin though, so if they brought him in as even like kind of like a Lex Luthor's type, like they did in Batman vs Superman, he's not the main. Well, he is the main bad guy, but there was also Doomsday, so they could have Kingpin and all these other guys as well.
Cool. So hear me out. Some of my hopes and dreams of Spider-Man 2. I would like to see Harry Osborn. I've always really liked the relationship between Harry Osborn and Spider-Man. I actually thought that was a pretty decent part of the